Wake up, Jacob. It is me, IP, and if you are rocking with the tribe, like, share, subscribe, and I just want to come back to you with an article, and it's talking about some food shortages that is coming down the pike. Actually, they already started to happen, but I just wanted to give you guys some of the information so you guys can adjust and prepare accordingly. Now, this one is from the Food Drive, or Food Dive, I should say, website. And it says 4 ingredients facing shortages amid the pandemic. Now, I want to look at some of these things here. I will not read the whole thing because the article is pretty big, but just go ahead. When you Google it, just Google Food Dive and 4 ingredients facing shortages, and it should come up. But it says from mushrooms and garlic to carbon dioxide and yeast, coronavirus has led to supply concerns across the food and beverage industry around the world. Manufacturers have been working overtime for months to keep shelves stocked while ingredient suppliers race to keep supply chains from breaking. But as the pandemic rocks the food and beverage industry, workforce as pandemic cases continue to grow and demand has shifted from food drives to retail, ingredients like mushroom and carbon dioxide face potential shortages. Also, on a side note, guys, I know the C19 is right there, but I just say pandemic because YouTube just flips out if you're not some big news source and you're reporting on that. So I just say pandemic instead of the C19. Continuing. Bill Ametis, executive director of the North Carolina Food Innovation Lab, told Food Dive that food manufacturers are using up their inventory in an effort to keep their pipelines available to retailers as the supply chain experiences disruptions. From the ingredients themselves to transportation issues, the coronavirus outbreak is causing spot shortages that could reoccur if it continues to spread, he said. Amethyst said the biggest concern will be if there is a secondary spike in the fall because that could disrupt transportation chains again, potentially making it more challenging to get those products imported into the U.S. from overseas. Looking ahead, what lessons should companies learn from these current problems? Quote, one of them is make sure that we have our supply chains mapped out very well for everything that we're doing in the processing world and know where we can move if one piece of our supply chain is interrupted for some reason or another, Amethyst said. A lot of companies don't take the time to do that. They have their first tier, maybe even a second tier of suppliers, but they haven't thought about when this happens in China, where do we go from there? So that's been a little bit of an awakening for the industry. Mushrooms. In May, the American Mushroom Institute said there would be shortages of the crop for the next 6 to 10 weeks. Mushroom farms saw a significant drop in orders in March amid the pandemic, which forced many either donate or throw out coolers full of product. Growers were also forced to limit workers on site as pandemic has hit agriculture across the U.S., leading to planting delays. Mushrooms, which grow in 6 to 12-week cycles, need a period of preparing compost as well as time for 2 or 3 growth cycles. When the pandemic hit, no one could have foreseen the markets unpredictably. Rachel Roberts, president of the American Mushroom Institute, said in a statement, mushroom growers made rapid decisions to sustain the health of their businesses and to protect the industry's workforce in unprecedented and uncertain circumstances. Although demand for mushrooms was down in restaurants, grocery store sales continue to rise. Retail mushroom sales jumped through April and increased 37% alone during the first week of May the last year, according to the IRI data cited by UPI. So that's what we have for mushrooms. Then, of course, it talks about carbon dioxide, where beer, soda, seltzer water rely on carbon dioxide to give the beverages its fizzy mouth feel. So a depleting supply of CO2 from ethanol plants is causing concerns among beverage makers. Ethanol producers are a major contributor of the gas to food and beverage companies, but the market for ethanol has been cut as consumers drive less, forcing many U.S. ethanol plants that sell carbon dioxide to idle or cut production. Okay, so we have that for the carbon dioxide. Okay, so when you go to these places and they're water fountains, well, I should say not the water fountain, but I should say they're soda fountains, and I know a lot of restaurants are still trying to crawl back to what we call normal, but those soda fountains are powered or injected with CO2, which makes it all bubbly. That's what makes all of our sodas bubbly. I don't really drink sodas anymore, but that's what makes it all bubbly. And there is obviously a problem with that. So it's far-reaching when you have this pandemic and how it affects everything. It is far-reaching. On to garlic a little bit. I am jumping around on purpose because it is a long article. Garlic. The majority of garlic consumed in the U.S. is imported from China, where the novel coronavirus originated. Got me on that one. Supply chains there were interrupted, which has weakened supply and increased prices. The price of garlic was up 29% last year during the pandemic, while wholesale prices were up 60% from the start of this year, according to the Wall Street Journal. Globally, there is a struggle to produce enough garlic. Philippines Agriculture Secretary William Dar told senators in May that there is a shortage of both onions and garlics in the Philippines. He said the country is trying to boost its domestic productions, but it takes time. Okay, so that's what you have on garlic. Now we have yeast. Yeast. Baking bread became a common pastime for consumers over the last several months, from sourdough to focaccia. I probably said that wrong, guys. I'm sorry. Pictures of homemade bread spread across social media during lockdowns. Those pictures inspire more and more shoppers to give bread making a try, causing demand for ingredients like flour and yeast to skyrocket past capacity. Sales for baking yeast were up 258% compared to last year for the week ending May 23rd, according to Nielsen data emailed to Food Dive. As sales jumped, consumers started to complain about empty shelves and shortages of dry yeast. So there is your article, guys, and that is what's going on in the world as we know it. The shortages keep coming. Prepare thyself, brothers and sisters. Prepare thyselves as best as you can. Again, it's not fear-mongering. It is just telling you the truth. It's telling you what is going on. You're going to see the pinch in a number of ways. One, when you go to the store, you're going to see holes in the shelves, empty spaces in the shelves, which you've already experienced by now, unless you lived under a rock. Also, you're going to see a rise or an increase in food prices. That alone should be enough to say, hey, you know what? I need to grow my own food. I need to get my own food. Everything is being affected. Everything, brothers and sisters, is being affected. So keep that in mind as you go out there and prepare and take care of your own household. I pray Yah's blessing on you and yours. And if you have any information that could be useful for the rest of the Israelite community at large, please put it in the comment section below, and I will see you guys on the next one. But do not forget to like, share, subscribe. Also smash that notification bell. This is Israelite Prepper.